This is The Download from Sounds Profitable, your daily source for the essential news in the business of podcasting. I'm Gavin Gaddis. Here's what you need to know for today, Wednesday, January 7th. First up, making it easier for video podcasters to earn on Spotify. With the first Golden Globes acknowledging podcasting set for this coming Sunday, Spotify has rolled out a few new updates. Chief among these updates is a new lower threshold to join the Spotify Partner Program, with the ability to monetize video podcasts similarly to monetizing YouTube videos. The threshold is now 1,000 engaged audience members, 2,000 hours consumed in the past 30 days, and at least 3 published episodes minimum. In addition, Spotify Partner Program members can now have the ability to add and remove dynamically inserted host-read ad content from video episodes, allowing sponsorship changes over time instead of permanently baking them into the episode. This comes along with the delivery metrics that accompany most dynamically inserted ads. A new API is also coming in the near future that will allow video podcasters hosted on select platforms to directly publish and monetize episodes on their hosting platform to Spotify. The initial partnered hosting providers are Acast, Audioboom, Libsyn, Omny, and Podigree. And Spotify also announced they recently crossed the threshold of contributing $10 billion USD to the podcast industry in some shape or form since 2019. Next up, the listening experience drives podcast performance. This is a new blog from iHeartMedia that uses the recent podcast ad block story as a jumping-off point to discuss the fundamentals of why podcast advertising works. Trust is a core component of host-read podcast ads. They point to the existence of a fly-by-night operation like podcast ad block as a symptom of a growing problem. As podcasting grows in size, some popular networks and shows have veered closer and closer to the amount of ad saturation found in terrestrial radio. Programmatic ad delivery accidentally inserting the same ad multiple times per episode. Host-read ads that were clearly mass-produced independent of the content they appear in. The age-old adage about downloading music in the 2000s applies to ads here, too. Content piracy is a customer service problem. Adopters suggest more active enforcement of frequency capping, higher quality standards for advertisements in podcasts, such as not reusing host-read ad segments multiple times over multiple episodes, schedule ad markers with intentionality at conversational breakpoints that make sense instead of automating that process, and adopting a firm ceiling for how many ads per episode a show is allowed to have. For our final top story, iHeart ups offerings. A couple of stories have popped up in the iHeartMedia world recently. First up, with a real blast from the past, TiVo, remember that, has announced they are rolling out the official iHeartRadio streaming app as an official partner of TiVo OS. The OS operating system is the official operating system used in connected TVs from brands like Sharp and Panasonic. I almost said Spanasonic there. Meanwhile, back in late December, iHeart announced that in 2026, the company is giving creators the ability to distribute full-length video podcast episodes directly into the iHeart Radio app ecosystem. As the move is part of their Creators First mission, the iHeart press release makes it clear podcasters submitting their video into iHeart's ecosystem retain full ownership and control over monetization. The feature will also not require podcasts to be hosted on iHeart-owned providers. As for the rest of the news, the Podglomerate has announced an expansion of their podcast slate with an exclusive ad sales partnership for New Hampshire Public Radio's full portfolio of podcasts. Editor note here, shout out to Bear Brook. The Podcast Academy has announced their new executive director is Amy Tucker. Podscribe has unveiled a new integration with independent identity graph, RockAd, expanding Podscribe's European measurement capabilities. Audion is expanding their presence across Europe with a special focus on Germany, Austria, and Switzerland with the appointment of Ina Borner to Head of Sales and Market Growth, DACH. And finally, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation has announced a winter slate of original podcasts with select productions available on YouTube. You can find links to every article I just talked about by clicking the one link in your show notes that'll take you to today's episode post on soundsprofitable.com, where you can also subscribe to the newsletter version of the download, which will email you a list of every single thing I talk about directly every afternoon as soon as the episode goes up. So if you want to be able to click to your heart's content, soundsprofitable.com, fill out that form on the front page. Until next time, the download is written and produced by Brian Barletta, myself, and Tom Webster. For Sounds Profitable, I'm Gavin Gaddis. Download us again tomorrow.